All right. Welcome, everyone, to our next fan battle. And hopefully it will be as exciting as last time. Okay, let me just try to get the players in the frame. And then we can kick it off. Let's see. Hold on, let me just check their usernames. Alright, the players are in Discord. They're almost ready. So I will switch windows and capture their game as soon as they're prepared. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Let's just test this out. Alright, that doesn't look so bad. Oh, I need to change this. Last time it was Chuni and Vedant who were battling, and this time it's going to be InvincibleInsights. Well, maybe I'll just use their... Well, Invincible Insights is his YouTube channel, so I'm going to leave it as that. And he's going to be playing against YeeterMaster. And he doesn't have a YouTube channel that I know of, at least not that I remember. Alright, so those are the guys who will be playing today. Let me move that to the top. There we go. And we can look forward to some exciting chess. Now, these guys are not in the same rating category as Chuni and Vedant. I mean, last time our matchup was split by about like 150 points, with Chuni being the heavyweight. No offense, Chuni. And so this time we have more of an even matchup, I think. Let me see if the players have already done the challenge. Okay. So we're just waiting on them to challenge right now, it looks like. We're just observing like an old position from one of the players. Okay, so Invincible Insight says the challenge is not accepted. Hopefully we don't have too much clowning and we can just get this chess started and keep it rolling. And at the end we're going to do a post-mortem and talk about all the analysis of what happened in the game. So there'll be a lot of learning opportunity. And since these guys are in like the, let me think, in real life they're probably in the like 1,000 to maybe 1,500 rating range. So anyone who's in that rating range who's watching may get a lot out of this, because we'll see some probably typical mistakes and also some of the things that make them what they are in a positive way. It used to be that people with a rating around like 1,000 were the same as a player with a rating of like 100. But in recent years, the gradations of skill have really filled in as more and more people are playing chess. Alright. Where are these guys? They need to start doing something. Yeah, these guys are clowning around, it looks like. Being really slow. Oh, he's blaming the internet. Typical move. Alright, but it looks like he's here. I'm just messaging him in Discord. Sorry about the small delay. Come on, guys. Oh, there we go. so finally there's some action. Looks like Chess King has black this time. Let me just make sure that they're capturing. And we have e4 on the board. And YeeterMaster, whose name on light chess is a serial number, has white. Alright, e5. This is the most popular way to start the game around this rating level, so I'm not shocked. But it's not that common to see the Spanish. Usually people are playing Italian with white. But of course, anything goes. So let's see where it takes us. So we have the Morphy variation with a6 and bishop a4. d3 is maybe something like a modern attempt. Usually people play c3 in order to have the option of playing bishop to c2 and preparing d4 at the same time. And one of the downsides of playing with c3 and d4 is that your e-pawn gets weak, which is why I'm thinking this is kind of like a more modern setup. He's just keeping everything solid and safe. But usually when you get the d4 break as white, if you do it very quickly, the e-pawn's weakness doesn't really matter because you castle really fast and you can always attack on the open line. And two can tango here. Black often has some similar ideas. Okay, the first real thought. We're still in the 10-minute phase. We have two 10-minute games followed by two 5-minute games, and then an Armageddon playoff if it's 2-2. And, okay, so I guess he was just deliberating whether or not to allow bishop g4. I don't think h3 is a bad decision. I have mixed feelings about bishop b7, however. Because with the pawn on d3, I feel like this e-pawn is very solid. I'm not that sure if this bishop's going to have a bright future on b7. But the Spanish opening is a very diverse system. They could have some kind of preparation that I'm not aware of, especially since I'm not exactly a Spanish expert. No hablo. Okay, this is interesting. So knight b8 is actually a common maneuver. Many people would probably be like, no way, putting your knight back, that's bad. But the idea of redeveloping it to d7 is quite typical. Because with the position being closed, there's more time for this kind of slow maneuvering. Now, I think white's a little bit slow with d4 because they played it in two moves, right? They played d3, d4. But if black doesn't do anything about it, then, you know, white just might get everything that they could ever dream of. Lots of space, active pieces. But I noticed that white is not really developing the queen side. Something of a concern here. All right, Vedant is putting a poll in the chat. I guess we're drawing lots here. We're saying who's going to win. Maybe in this game, or we could also talk about in the match. Feel free to make your votes, and please wait. Please don't wait until there's a mate and one on the board to cast your ballot for this one. Speaking of which, if you can vote, you should vote tomorrow. Or is it the 3rd? I think it's the 3rd. Yep, Tuesday I think is voting day. I already mailed it in, so I am good to go. Alright, this is a pretty common maneuver in the Spanish to bring this knight to f1, and I don't want to spoil it, but it has a bunch of options from there. Looks like he's picked g3. Sometimes you can see knight h2 or knight e3 as well. g6 is stunting the knight. We're trying to keep it from entering and being annoying in black's territory. But this has some downsides too, because with all the pawns on one color, you might see an attack on the opposite color, something like that. But black is pretty well prepared to deal with that because they've got this maneuver coming up. The bishop on f8 is doing a good job of covering up those weaknesses, but h6, yet another pawn move. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Bishop all the way back to d2. E3 was maybe a more natural choice, but I guess he wants to avoid some shenanigans involving the e-pawn or something. I don't know, I felt like it was pretty safe to play bishop e3. It's okay to block the rook in that case. I think white could have had the setup with the bishop on e3 and the queen on d2 instead, with the same idea of hitting h6. But, so it's a little bit awkward to have the queen on c1. Amazing Actors saying howdy in the chat. Hello, Amazing Actor. I find your 1845 blitz suspicious, especially with your new account. Okay, it's a tense moment, but I feel like black's play is somewhat obvious here. Let's see what he does. Maybe there's something up his sleeve. C5. That's crazy. I think it's crazy. I'm gonna get water. I'll be back in like 10 seconds. What is going on here? Yeah, c5 looks pretty serious to me as well, Vedant. By the way, anyone who's tuning in maybe for the first time, Vedant was our contestant last time on the fan battle, and he has his own YouTube channel. So, not YouTube, I mean Twitch. So Vedant, if you want, you could share the link for your Twitch in the chat so people can check it out. So Harry has fallen off. Poor Harry. He was so young. But how the mighty have fallen. Now sometimes people give up this h-pawn on purpose for some kind of counterplay, but generally it's like when there's weaknesses over here. But in this case, I don't really see a lot of counterplay. Hold on, I'm gonna just share the link quickly. Boom, boom. There we go. Okay, so sensibly he's closing the center now that he has this kingside advantage. I don't know what Chess King is hoping for here with black. Now with this pawn on d5, this bishop is stunted. One of my least favorite expressions in all of chess is that a bishop is biting on granite. I find this expression so unappealing and unaesthetic that I will never use it except to explain how much I hate it. So if you really want to get me to go on a tirade, just go ahead and say that something is biting on granite in chess. I'll just go completely nuts. I guarantee it. But the idea that something is biting on granite is that there's an immovable pawn mass and the bishop has only one way to go. Like, it can't be redeployed successfully anywhere. So it's just staring at this enemy pawn, and it can't ever capture it because it's too well fortified. So that's what people mean when they say it. But it's such a, like, trite aphorism ever since, I don't know, I think Botvinnik used the phrase one time and it just, like, took off after that. But, you know, it's such a trite phrase that people use it anytime a bishop is looking at a pawn, even when it's not accurate. Like, sometimes people will say, like, oh, this bishop's biting on granite, even though that pawn is, like, gonna die because the bishop is attacking it. So I would not use a phrase in that kind of situation. Now, knight b6 is interesting. I don't know exactly what I was expecting because I really don't like black's position. but going over to the queen side when there's this impending doom maybe on the king side seems slightly misguided. But there's also this point that maybe you could use the c4 square or something, or maybe he wants to vacate the d7 square for another piece. Alright, Vedanta's updating his projected score to 2.5, 1.5 in favor of YeeterMaster, who is the guy with the serial number for a name in this match. I don't think it's important for white to stop black's play here. Like I mentioned that they might want to play maybe like knight c4 or knight a4, but I don't think it's very dangerous because there's just not anything going on over there. So white played b3. I don't think it spoils anything because white's position is really good, but I think it would have been good to just allow black to keep going with the knight and then kick it out, because it would have nowhere to go anyway, right? Like you play b3, it could go here or here, but it's just not a big deal. So it looks like he was trying to reroute the bishop. That seems pretty sensible since it was, as they say, not doing anything on b7. But it also doesn't have that bright of a future here. And this is a manifestation of white having more space. These pawns are far advanced and they're well supported, and so they prevent the black pieces from taking over behind, like in this territory in the different color. So the black pieces can't easily break through these pawns. And the pawns are also attacking squares deep in black's territory, so it's not easy for them to even use their own side. That's why white has more space. Generally, the pawns determine the space, not the other pieces, because pawns are more slow moving, so they are better for controlling a few key squares. You can't maneuver them across the board. The other pieces are a little bit more dynamic, so I don't think of the higher value pieces as contributing to the space gain, the space race. It's kind of interesting how the queen went here and then here when it could have just gone here in one move in one of the side variations. But it makes sense. Usually when you move the queen off the first rank, you're clearing all of this for the rooks. That is just generally a good thing to do. So the onus is on black to make something happen in this pawn down position. But if white plays really slowly, I think black can whip something together. And welcome to the chat, Mahir. You had class on Sunday? Interesting. Now, being a minute down in a 4-minute situation is not really that good. At some point, you have to just cut your losses and make a move that you know doesn't lose. We're probably going to be getting into move territory pretty soon. This is an interesting move. I wonder if anyone in the chat is going to predict white's reply. I have a feeling that there's a pretty obvious good reply for white besides doing nothing. Yeah, and it's b4. The idea with b4 is to prevent any new squares from opening up for the knights. And it also just controls more territory. Hello, Imola. Long time no see. Welcome to the chat. He thinks Amog blundered. Okay, so in this position, I don't think c4 is that good, but he also has to just, like, do something, right? Because his position's not that good. And he's low on time, so he has to kind of play fast, try to make things chaotic maybe to spice it up. But YeeterMaster is keeping pace with bishop g5. Oop, that's not g5, that one. And this is a pin on the knight and the queen. Okay, interestingly, now black has a pass pawn. This could become a real asset. Previously, black had literally nothing going for them, but now there's some glimmer of hope as long as he doesn't maybe blunder this pawn. Got to use all the pieces, though. I find it interesting that white has just not even attempted to attack black's king, where they're kind of weaker because of the missing h-pawn. It's just been doing like kind of nothing and waiting for a Moog to blunder. I guess that's maybe an effective strategy if you know a Moog very well, but generally I wouldn't do that. Alright, these guys gotta make some moves. Time is dwindling. Looks awkward, but not an unreasonable move. At least getting out of the pin. Usually it's not good to stay in a pin forever, because then it's kind of like you don't even have the knight, because you can't move it without losing something like the queen. And it attacks the a4 square. That's pretty useful. Suddenly black's bishop is coming to life. Unexpected turn of events. By the way, if anyone wants to be next on our fan challenge, feel free to join the Discord and let it be known. You can challenge whoever you want, as long as you're within like roughly 100 or 200 points of each other. I think it'll be a good match. Okay. Serious time pressure here. Being down 3 minutes is like a massive disadvantage in 10 minutes. It's really down to the wire. Because there's no increment, you know, you just have to do things. Sometimes it doesn't matter that much what you do, as long as you stay in the game, something might jump out at you. Oh, what just happened here? Did Moog seriously accept a new game? Hold on. What is going on here? Sorry about that. Suddenly the game is gone. I think he accepted someone's challenge. What are you doing? What is this nonsense? Hold on, let me message him. I think he was enrolled in a tournament that starts at 4:20, and it just started. But that is not okay. Here, let me see if I can spectate the other player. He's playing both games. Okay, wow, and we're in time pressure. Black just timed out, partly from some nonsense, it looks like. What just happened here? Probably it was, I mean, his position's not good anyway, but it was probably very distracting to suddenly start a second game in the middle. So let me just instruct him. Alright, the players are sending a rematch. I think we just need to wait for a Moog to get out of that other tournament briefly. It's probably just a clerical error. But yeah, it looks like suddenly the bishop on a8 was just dead for the whole game because of this pawn on d5, a bone in the throat. A better move here would just be king c7, of course. Let's see. Are both players disconnected right now? No, he's there. Oh, they already started, it looks like. Okay, here's our new game. And the colors are switched. Looks good. Alright. Let the games begin. So, this time, Chess King has white. Let's see if he has more luck. Maybe he can get some space this time. The lifetime score of these players is 6-3 right now. You probably can't see that just below. And they have no draws, so we're probably going to see an exciting match. Some fighting chess. All right, serial number dude is playing d5, which is a very suspicious move, I must say. And I don't say that lightly. I know it's popular to just kind of like dunk on the Scandinavian defense and say, oh, it's a bad move, blah, 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 no space, moving your queen, blah. But I gave it a serious go because its logic, is that if you play e4, you eventually want to play d5 in basically every opening. I mean, not every opening, but a lot of them. And so if you could play d5 right away, it means you've equalized. But it turns out that it's not that easy to equalize. My here is, I guess, complaining that there's a huge delay. I think it's good that there's a delay, because that way the players will not hear all my commentary and just copy whatever I say, which is something that I know at least one person in our chat likes to do, Vedant. Okay, so black has more space this time. That's pretty uncommon. Usually white has the first chance to stake a claim in the center, like that. But here black has managed that. So they're like a couple moves down, but they have a lot of space. So we'll see if they can hold on to it. Guys, when I say Scandinavian is not good, I don't mean it's not good for anyone. Like, it's fine for you guys to play Scandinavian defense, but there's a reason that we don't really see top players choosing it. It doesn't hold up that well against extremely well-prepared opponents. It has concrete problems. Vedant, I was just teasing you. Don't worry. I think that black's idea of breaking down the center with c3, I'm sorry, white's idea of breaking down the center, makes a lot of sense. But we still might see black with more space. If black wanted to maintain space, they could have played c5, but that would also mean moving a million billion pawns and maybe losing the e5 pawn. So it makes sense that they played this way. But I think we're looking at a blunder here. This was not the precise move order. I don't think so. Well, maybe it doesn't matter. So black is now a piece up. Interesting. So let's do this in slow motion again. So he put the bishop on d6, which cuts off the queen's support. So it looks like you're winning a pawn, right? Supported by the knight. But there's this discovered check. I thought he would take on d4 first and then go for it. But here it worked out pretty much the same. People are complaining about, well, not complaining. They're saying that Magnus plays d5 and he wins. But, Magnus wins no matter what opening he plays against anyone in the world, right? So he's played like Scholar's Mate against IMs and things like that. So you can't really judge how good it is just because, like, Magnus played it. Also, you have to keep in mind the time control. Like, Blitz Rapid is basically not even chess. If you're talking about like what is objectively good, what you can get away with, irrespective of the time on the clock, we have to look at classical chess. So I think that Magnus is generally not choosing this for his conflicts with top 10 players. And of course, this doesn't mean you shouldn't play it, because you're probably not going to go have to fight like Morozevich or Gelfand or Giri or Caruana on the regular, right? So there's no need to be super concerned. We're just, especially these days where we can't even really play tournaments. Everything's like blitz, bullet, time controls, rapid. You can play what you want. It's fine. But for commentary purposes, I just mean to say that the opening is not that sound. The soundness of an opening doesn't depend on how much time is on the clock. Alright, so let's see if white can come back from being down a piece. I can tell you one way he will not make a comeback. He will not make a comeback by just sitting there and letting his time run out. So hopefully he'll play a little faster this game and make use of what he's got. Who is the strongest chess player of all time? Well, you know that guy Anderson who played against Morphe? I heard he was like a really strong guy, so he was probably the strongest chess player ever. Real beefcake. Who else was a strong chess player? Probably like Muhammad Ali. Magnus? Yeah, Magnus is pretty buff. He just might be the strongest chess player. At least the strongest modern chess player. I think Anish Giri is like so thin. He looks like you could break his neck like a pencil. So he's definitely not him. I think it's a common chess player stereotype to be a real like twiggy, taped glasses type. Maybe a couch potato. It's not totally fair though. Like Fischer was a pretty buff guy from what I have heard. Rook c3. Interesting. I guess maybe that's better than just giving up the pawn. I'm not sure though, because I think as white in this position, I would rather lose the pawn on d3 and get my pieces out than like passively hold on to the pawn. But if I had to passively hold on to it, probably this is the way to go. At least you keep some option of attacking on c7 or something. Here is pointing out that at some point I claimed to be the strongest chess player by muscles. It just might be true. I honestly can't say that I've lost to any chess players in, say, arm wrestling. Actually, anyone from Rutgers University who's watching, sometimes people from my alma mater watch the stream. They'll all know this one guy who's like crazy about arm wrestling. Who was part of the Rutgers Chess Club, and he was nearly undefeated. But then we didn't see him for a while, and so we were all speculating that maybe he met someone who was equally as strong as him, and that they're still arm wrestling to this day. So he might be the strongest, but he's also locked in an eternal battle with someone equally strong. Somewhat appropriate, considering the theme of chess. White and black, equally matched. Lots of draws. Alright, this is what I thought black would do here. Knight b4. Looks pretty strong. It's attacking everybody. It's a family affair. It would have been maybe some kind of trap if he had like more attacking potential or could play like rook c4 here, but I don't know. I think it's a little bit of a faux pas to allow knight b4. But still, sharpening the play, losing the d-pawn could actually benefit white because, you know, they need some counterplay. They're down to pieces, and you get the pieces as active as possible. Right now, black is not using his rook on f8. White's not using the rook on f1, so YeeterMaster is doing some smack talk in the chat. All right. OP knight, it's true. Very beefy knight. Amogus Chess King. He's taking 10 years to decide what to do about his queen hanging. Classic. So he plays fast, 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 makes a mistake, and then thinks for like 10 years. It's going to be hard to close the score here. Six to 3 lifetime score for serial number YeeterMaster against Chess King. Mahir said, have I ever met a chess player? Like, is that a trick question? because, I'm a chess player, right? Oh, have I met a world champion? Okay, good question. So, first of all, I've met Kasparov twice, and I have his autograph. It's probably on my shelf. Let me see. Do I see it from here? Let me see if I can go find my autograph. It's probably like right there. One sec. All right, so I met Kasparov twice. The first time was the year that I started playing chess. Well, like approximately that year. And I went to Super Nationals in 2009 when I was in high school and I just learned how to play. I taught myself. And so Kasparov was there, and he gave a big speech about people think chess is for nerds and all that, and I thought that was hilarious. But he was talking about how chess players are secretly great. I'm still waiting to see what's good about chess players, but I took his word for it at the time. And later, I met him at the U.S. Amateur Team East tournament, which normally happens in February, but probably will not happen because of COVID. I mean, it was already a cesspool for disease, even without COVID, because everybody's like sneezing and stuff. But, it's February for you. Anyway, so last time I saw him at the team tournament, I got his autograph in this book. I don't know if you can see it. Let me play my stream and see if you can look at the book. All right, there's the autograph. Not sure you can really see it, but it's there, trust me. And it's actually Kasparov. I even verified that it was not an imposter because I know someone else who has his signature, and we compared. So that was that. And I was with my friend Shai, who sometimes also comes into the chat. And he got his laptop signed. And Gary Kasparov is kind of a grumpy guy. He gave him such a very strange look. He brought the laptop and was like, sign my laptop. And he was like, but he signed it anyway. So there's a signed laptop out there somewhere for Gary Kasparov. So I met him. And I think the same year I met Alexander Kostenyuk. This was probably even more of an important experience for me in my chess career than meeting Kasparov. Kostenyuk is the... Oof, this is a bad move to play. Rook d1. Okay, so we might see a quick conclusion here. But anyway, so Kostenyuk was even more important for me because it was one of my very, very first tournaments. Like, I think I played it right before I played the... Alright, and that's game, a back rank mate. Rook d1 was a big blunder. Oh well, what can you do when you're under the gun? We'll analyze this game a little bit and see where his chances were. But they're going to move to the 5-minute segment now. Invincible Insights says he hates himself. Hey, hate yourself after the match. For now, you have to get it together and play a 5-minute game. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so Kostenyuk was doing a simul in New Jersey, which I found like completely wild. She was a woman world champion from Russia, and for some reason she just ended up in this town that was like an hour from where I lived. So I was like, I'm gonna go and hold on, let me see if they started the game. Nope, not yet. So she was there. So I drove. Well, I didn't drive, but I took. I think someone dropped me off. Probably my mother. So I got dropped off at the library where she was doing a simul, and I played her, and I lasted like 40 moves. But they were like 40 pathetic moves in a row because first off I was playing black. Second, I had like just learned chess. But it was interesting to meet her, and she did a little lecture at the end. And I did not win. No, I lost absolutely. And I deserved it. I played very passively. She just stopped any chance of counterplay. Oh, cool, a center four trick. Finally, someone is using the thing that I taught them. Can't believe it. The center four trick is a nice way to get your pieces developed extremely rapidly with white or black. Anyway, so she did this little lecture, and I was very ignorant at the time about chess, being from a small town in South Jersey. And this was back in like 2009, so there was... Chess.com had like just started. There was not a lot of chess literature out. At least that was nothing accessible to me. So we were talking about the Evans Gambit, and so I asked her, I was like, so is the Evans Gambit actually a sound opening? Because you go down like 3 pawns, and like, do you have enough for it? I just really wanted to use this opportunity. Oh my god, not again in this position. Check it out. Oh my god, it's the same thing. It's wild. The same exact tactic. Chess King is falling for it again. I'm disgusted. I'm gonna ridicule these guys so much. Yeah, so we were talking about Evans Gambit, and I asked her if it was really good, and she said, well, if you want to study this opening, you'll need to see some games. What database do you use? And I said, I use chessgames.com, and everybody laughed, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, what's funny? Because I didn't know what a database was at all. So I was using chessgames.com to just look up like Paul Morphy's games and things like that. And so it was at that point that I realized not only do I like kind of despise chess players, but I had a lot of training to do and that I needed to get a database. So I got ChessBase 11 and started training. And she was cool. I feel like she's one of the more likable, strong chess players that I've met. There's a lot of like hype about her being a woman, but I think that chess players are a little bit too crazy about that sometimes, and it's good to just acknowledge that like being a woman chess player is a little bit unusual, but they're also like a human being just like everybody else and should be treated as such. So you have to kind of toe the line carefully how you talk about these chess players. At least that's my opinion. We might see a photo finish here. Really fast ending. Oof. Faster than I could ever have imagined. That's mate. Crazy. This was a disaster dumpster fire game. So d4 is actually just a blunder because you can't take back. Probably he had to play something like, well, actually it's not a blunder, it's just that he has to play bishop c6 or something like that. Hold on. Oh, I lost track of the moment where he actually blundered, so let's just focus on this game then. So Chess King has black, YeeterMaster has white, and we're seeing a repeat of the opening from the beginning. Yeah, we might see a 4-0 sweep. It's tough to come back here. Basically, the match is clinched, and white only needs a draw to win the match. But it looks like he's going for gold with this fried liver attack. Let's see if he can make it happen. Oh, I was really expecting something like knight takes d5, and it would be a travesty. All right, here's asking, what year did I meet Kasparov in? I met him for the first time in 2009 when I was playing in Super Nationals. And then I met him again in, I guess it was 2012, the year the world ended. I also have played against Magnus. I was not logged in on my account, so I can't really show you the game. But I wouldn't want to anyway because I mouse slipped and now it's a clip on YouTube. So if you just search like Magnus Carlsen mouse slip, you'll probably find my game. I really squandered my opportunity to play a good game against the world champion and became a meme instead. That was pretty embarrassing. Yeah, it's true that white has already won the match, but let's just see one more game and then we can analyze them. The last game was kind of a scratch. There's not a lot to say. But maybe there will be some substance here. Because black is down a pawn, but has pretty fair development. I'd say even like really good development. Even though the knight is offside. Okay, what's that? Knight e4. Let's see what Chess King chooses here. I've also met some of the strong American players, like Nakamura, So, Caruana. Never seen Magnus in real life. He doesn't really come to the U.S. that much, I think. And I've never been to St. Louis, so it's tricky. I would go, except, pandemic's on. I live a lot closer than I used to, so there's some chance. Really? My mouse slip is a famous game now? That's really disappointing. I could have played a good game, but I didn't. And it wasn't even on purpose or something. Oh, is that a blunder? I think that Chess King woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. Or maybe he never went to bed. Probably it's a Halloween hangover. Too much like, I don't know, candy corn, whatever it is that kids eat these days at Halloween. He's going for broke now. Let the blunders rain down. Yeah, I can't even express how sad I was that I mouse slipped in that game. I mouse slip a lot, even more than actually YeeterMaster, who says that he is the king of mouse slipping. No, you've never mouse slipped against Magnus Carlsen, so I still hold that title. I am king of making dumb moves by accident because I have very poor coordination. I wonder if I've met any other really famous chess players. I met Avruk and I didn't know it was Avruk. I was just like talking to him and not realizing. That was kind of funny. But it also fits my style. I feel like it's kind of inappropriate to be like, oh my god, you're so and so. It's just kind of like, I'm sure they get tired of that really fast. I feel like it's good manners to just treat people like people. I had the great pleasure of getting my book signed by Ogard when he was in North Carolina maybe 2 years ago. And that was nice. I didn't own any of his books because, let's face it, I'm broke. But I'd read some, like I borrowed them from friends and stuff like that. And so when I met him, I had a little bit of extra money. I think I won some money or something in that tournament, or like a tournament right before that one. So, I had a couple bucks to blow, and I saw Jacob and Jakob, I guess. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna think inside the box, and get it signed. And so I did, and that was pretty great. So now that I'm like doing a PhD and stuff, people who don't play chess, hear about how I had a chess career, and then they ask me things about it. And recently someone asked me, has anyone ever asked for your autograph? And I had to say yes with my teeth gritted, because I also think it's in bad taste to ask someone for their autograph. I think it's kind of like, I don't know. Some people really love autographs, and I get that. I think White missed an opportunity to just develop their pieces with Knight C3 here. So I get it. Some people really like autographs, but some people I feel like they're just collecting them, and it's a little, I don't know. Something leaves a bad taste in my mouth about acting like you want collector's items for people that you don't really know. Bothers me a little bit. But people have asked for my autograph like multiple times, and I always just kind of laugh about it, because I don't see myself as like an especially amazing player. I mean, I'm like in the top 1%, maybe like top 3% of all chess players or something, but I'm not a grandmaster yet, especially now that there's no time to play tournaments in real life. Looks like Amoga's gonna just flag this game. 16 seconds against 2.5 minutes. but it's happened before. Once this kid came up to me and was like, "Can I have your autograph?" And I was like, "Why do you want my autograph?" And he started to like tear up a bit. And I was like, "Okay, you get the autograph this time." Who knows what he did with it? So I guess maybe I'm a famous chess player? What a plot twist. Alright. It's gonna happen here. Just an easy flag. Alright. So, it was a 4-0 sweep. Yeah, Vidon, we do all get autographs from our opponents, but it's not an autograph if you just come up... I mean... It's not exactly like an autograph if you are required to write it down. And actually, in the higher sections, they take your score sheet, so you don't even get to keep it. Anyway, let's talk with the players. Let's get them all on a voice channel. Let's go in secret. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wow, you're so loud. Hold on, let me turn this down a bit. All right. Oh, you went to general? Right. Let's get a Moog in here. Where's a Moog? I'm sure he's in the chat.
Okay. 1 second.
Yeah.
I'll message him.
Okay. I'm gonna open up the first game meanwhile. We'll just go in order.
Alright, hi.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, guys. So I have the first game open. How much is the lag on my stream? Is it like too much, or do you want to just all look at the game at the same time and talk?
Yeah, it's like it's like delayed by like 5 seconds.
That's like nothing. It's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of laggy, but it should be fine.
Yeah. So we're on game 1 right now. Let's just talk about how it went. You guys might want to open it up on your side just so you can see the moves, but since they'll only be able to see my board, let's all just talk about whatever's like on my screen. So we played Spanish. Mr. YeeterMaster. I'm just gonna use your usernames because I don't want to use real names on the internet. But do you usually play Spanish with White these days?
Yeah, I play Spanish or Italian. I have like a lot of mixed openings.
This match you played like, hold on, did you play just Spanish? I know we had one.
I played Italian and Spanish.
In the match.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot already. So, alright, so bishop b5, and we got this Morphe variation. Do you ever play the exchange line, where you take on c6?
Yeah, I have, but I just like the exchange line better.
Why is Vedanta just joining over and over?
Well, don't worry about that. Let's just do the analysis. So after a6, you sometimes play the exchange line?
Yeah, but I like it better if the opponent is Berlin, and then I go the exchange line mainly.
Oh yeah. So you would play like this and immediately take, or what? Like this?
No, I rarely do that.
So you'll play like d3 first, or?
Yeah, I'll just go bishop a4 and then b3.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of just hoping that they blunder the pawn, basically. You don't want any counterplay.
Yeah, I don't play like exchange variation on when it's Morphe.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see. Amog, you started thinking a lot, like, well, actually, let's see. Where did Amog start thinking? Somewhere around here. Actually, Amog, during the match, I thought that I'm using your real names again, so I'm gonna try to stick with usernames. But anyway, so Bishop b7. Is this like your preparation, or were you just kind of guessing where to put the pieces?
I actually like I didn't know I was gonna be like playing this opening in this thing, but I actually learned this a few days ago.
From what? Like a book, or?
No, like there's like a one-to-one teacher.
Who is it?
Well, I know like the name that he uses in the Zoom meetings, but he doesn't ever say his real name.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't bother you about it then. So.
Yeah, I mean, bishop b7 is probably just not the best place to play your bishop.
There is a line where you play bishop b7, but I'm not like a big expert on the Spanish. I'll open up the reference real quick and see. So.
Yeah, I play a lot of Spanish, and generally with the bishop there, it's just not that good.
Yeah, I think the number one time when you play bishop b7 is like There's this Breyer variation where it makes more sense. But usually here people are playing knight a5. And I just checked. There are only 7 games in the light chess database with bishop b7, and white won more than half. So,
yeah, bishop e7 not that good.
yeah, so usually knight a5 is the way. I think this is called the Shigorin variation or something. Like, well, actually, that's usually with the pawn on d4. So,
Yeah, the Shigorin version is good, but then you can just play, a5 and then, a4 and then, just break through. But it's definitely better than bishop b7.
I mean, in the blitz games, I just totally break in the time pressure.
yeah, that's something that was even true for you like a year ago when I was still teaching at Kings and Queens. That's something you need to work on.
Yeah.
So the only way you'll work through it is with training, though. Oh.
So yeah, where's my game? I'm trying to find it.
Oh, you lost it. Okay. So right now we're still at the position where you played knight b8. I think this is actually a very sensible maneuver, even though it's maybe not the best mix with bishop b7. I think it makes a lot of sense to try to reroute your knight, maybe to c5 or something. Another idea is you could have played rook e8, followed by knight f8 and knight g6. I think this was probably a good way to go, considering that you already played bishop b7. So, let's see, bishop c2. I thought this was kind of odd. So, YeeterMaster, why did you play bishop c2? It's not under threat or anything. What's the point?
Just to guard the pawn more.
Sure, but what about knight d2? You play knight b d2 and guard the pawn. That seems more sensible.
Yeah, it's just up here, just in case the pawn gets attacked, you don't have to, worry about it later.
Oh, okay. But the bishop is actually really good on b3. It puts pressure on f7 and g8.
Yeah, I think knight b to d2 is actually more accurate. But
yeah, and you ended up having to do it anyway. So it's maybe you could do bishop c2 at the last second if the pawn is truly in danger. And
yeah.
I feel like after the g6 bishop
here, you probably see it on my screen now.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure, and it also has problem.
I think black is kind of equalized after g6 because I don't think white has put really a lot of pressure on. Bishop g5 makes sense. I don't really like h6. I thought here that black would play queen c7.
I think I blew it when I did c5.
Yeah, you did. It was mostly just because you blundered a pawn straight away, right? On that move.
Yeah, queen c7. Wasn't that? C5 wasn't that good.
What would be an alternative to that?
Well, first of all, you shouldn't play h6. It's just too weakening to move all these pawns near your king. So, so you should have played queen c7, and then c5 makes sense later.
Yeah, c5 does make sense, but the problem is that I always go d5 on that position.
Sure, but then he can bring his bishop back to maybe where it belongs, something like that.
Yeah. The bishop on d7 that's not the best place on this variation.
There's actually a caveat to playing d5 also. Let's pretend that Amog played... I'm sorry. I'm just going to say whatever at this point. I've already been inconsistent too many times. So, after queen c7, let's say that white plays queen d2, something consistent with what you did in the actual game. At this point, if black plays c5, and which is not even necessarily the best, I'll talk about that in a second. If they play d5, after c4, black is getting knight c5. And I think this is serious counterplay for black. You shouldn't do it right away because the knight on f6 is hanging, but you'll play bishop g7 first and then knight c5.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential right here if white does end up playing d5. It's not super clear-cut. That's part of why I'm not a big Spanish expert. It's just everything's kind of ambiguous and crazy, and I just don't know. It takes too much studying for me to really know it. But h6 is definitely not good. Weakens your king. Here, I thought that black would play h5 or king h7. Just don't lose the pawn. That was a better alternative, Amog. So that was probably better. c5 is a blunder. And then from here, it's kind of just you got steamrolled. White didn't really go for the kill, which I thought was a little disappointing. but you know it worked out in the end. So I think there's not that much to analyze unless you guys have questions about this game.
I didn't go for the kill because it's just a blitz game and all you need to win is this time.
Why shouldn't you just go for the kill in every game though?
Well, I just don't. I like to play more calm, I guess.
Well, actually,
I feel like a bit confused when that happened, so like I tried to like revive my bishop, but it just didn't.
well, actually, Amogi, you got a decent position at one point. Let's actually talk about that. So, not with Queen A7. So in this position that's on my screen after Rook A3, if we saw something like Bishop A6 maybe followed by Bishop B5, I think White will have a real hard time breaking through. This passed pawn is pretty strong.
Wait, I can't see it because maybe it's a little bit laggy for me.
Yeah, you guys might have different levels of lag. So I just on move 32, Bishop B5 I think is good. Like on move 31, Bishop A6 instead of Queen A7, and then put the bishop on B5 like a pawn. I think White might not be able to win. That's why I thought it was important for you to go for the kill, because eventually, by just waiting, Black got some counterplay. Luckily, he was flagging at this point, so you could just blitz him out.
Yeah,
but
I still had like plans of Queen H6 followed by Knight G5.
it's not much though. Like let's say you play Queen H6, and I immediately put Bishop G7. Oh, too bad. Now you have nothing, right?
Queen H6, Bishop D7, and then Queen H4. I think it should, so keep.
Okay, but this position is probably like a draw at best. Like I could play Queen
had,
D8.
This idea at one point, like when I had a knight on F6, like maybe I could like try to break through their pawns, and then I'd like. Then I'd be pretty.
Do you mean like on move 27, right before the knight goes away? Or
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He was able to snap it off right away, but like what kind of plan were you thinking about?
Like so like if they like hadn't taken it, like I would have like tried something.
Like let's say they play something like Knight H2. What would you do?
Like Knight H2.
Yeah, so White plays Knight H2, and instead of taking your knight, what would you do? It's tough to pick a square. Like Knight H5, you just get taken. Your king's weak.
I'd like.
Knight H7 makes maybe a little bit of sense, but like, what's your long-term goal, right? You can't go on E6, so it's kind of like you're just aiming for D7 ultimately. But
I had like one other idea. Like right before this, I was like before I had the knight there.
Like
I was thinking like maybe I'll try to like move my F4 pawn, but then I thought it was too risky.
You mean to play F5?
Yeah, I wanted to play F5 and try to break off their pawns.
Okay, so
Yeah, but if you went F5, I'd probably just go like Knight H2 and then just play F3 and then
this plays into White's hands. Yeah, I think you were right not to do it, because White generally will want to open up the position by capturing on F5, because this bishop on C2 would become super strong attacking H7. So that's kind of the playbook. Let's go to the next game. 1 second.
Wait, also how you mentioned that White would have trouble. I think White also technically has a passed pawn, so I think that would be
where? You mean on the king side?
Yeah, no, on the queen side. The B pawn. It's not passed yet, but it could become passed.
I don't think it will ever become passed. Like if.
I think in one of my games I like blew up my passed pawn.
Yeah, that was the first. I think it was this first game. Like you had a passed pawn on the A file and you just flagged. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you held on to it with like Bishop D7 instead of Bishop B7, you had a much greater shot in this game. But you were flagging here too, so sometimes you have to just make a move like before you get into the massive time pressure. Like you could have 9 queens with the massive time pressure and you'll still lose. You have to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, the time pressure was a lot for among play chess in basically all of the games.
Like every single time, I just had like pressure on time.
All right, let's go to the next game.
I don't really do well with that.
So this Scandinavian defense, I was kind of dunking on it in the chat while you guys were playing. I don't know if you heard that. Probably you shouldn't be playing anything that I made a mouse slip. I clicked on my knight instead of
You should have asked for a take back. I could have given you a take back. I mean, that was fine.
Yeah, it's better not to offer takebacks in general, but I understand that too. Like recently, Ding Liren had a mouse slip against Carlson, and Carlson threw the next game to make up for it or something, right? So
Yeah, I remember that. That was long ago, but
it was months ago, not that long, but like we're living in these times when we can only play online, it kind of makes some sense to be more accommodating with the takebacks and stuff. But of course, people abuse it a lot on light chess. Like people will just play a move they don't like and offer me a take back. It's like there's no way you mouse slipped such a complex move. Anyway, so I think the real challenge is still pawn takes d5. Like hundreds of years after they invented center counter, you should still take on d5 and play knight c3.
yeah, taking on d5 and then
Yeah,
I
that's
was
what I
actually
meant to
preparing
do.
a
I
lot of
just took
it.
my
I was
knight.
actually preparing a different variation of the Scandinavian. Instead of queen takes d5, I'd probably just go with knight g6, knight f6. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will play a different. I was preparing to play a different variation.
Yeah,
of
this is an interesting gambit line. I have like a 90% score with white against it though. I don't have a very good opinion about it.
I mean, this is good because if you take it, I take it. There's a lot of attack.
I don't want to show you what I think the problem is with it because it's like a 10 move line that's like all forced, and I think we should just focus on the actual game. But you should look into it. There's actually like basically a refutation for this opening. Just do some research, you'll find it. You can still play it, of course. I'm not telling you to quit all your openings, but like you should know the refutation if you're gonna play it.
Yeah, but
feel
generally
like
I play queen takes d5 because
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing like But I only really started this when I played online chess because
I
I
feel
don't
like
really like that champion against like on the board players.
like I'm like way better on the board. I just don't know why, but online chess I'm just so bad at.
Well, you need practice with it. I also feel kind of similarly. Like in real life, I can just focus a lot better.
Super practically to be honest, everyone. Like it feels just easier to play.
Some people are much better online. I think it's just a matter of personality or something. I'm not sure. So here, I almost would say that black got a good position, but I think the fact that white goes first really does make a huge difference in this position. Like after, I don't know if e5 makes the most sense because knight f3 hits the pawn, but h6 is definitely bad. Like you should play c5 here and build a bulwark of pawns in the center. I think that would be a lot stronger.
Yeah.
That knight to b4
Yeah, I prepared
play.
that for a move. I thought that I prepared that for it because I felt wanted my bishop on a good square,
Mhm.
and I guess that was the best way.
Yeah, the knight to b4 play was actually like
Where? You mean d4?
Yeah, I think he needs d4.
Yeah, this was a big mistake. But, you know, this pawn is a long-term weakness. Probably the way you should approach this is by castling your king. You probably remember, like, Coach Luis and I just, like, constantly screaming on you for not castling your king, right?
I do castle my king though.
Yeah, but not always and not fast enough. Like, in this position, before you take this weak pawn, you should castle. Like, you should play, like, g3 or something. Play bishop g2, castle, and then the pawn is hanging. Like, there's no reason to, like, go crazy to take the pawn right now when you have bigger problems that your king is not safe.
Okay.
So you should always just look out for that kind of thing. Even if this pawn was like 100% free, like not even protected one time, you should think twice before moving a piece twice. It might not even be worth a pawn. Sometimes it is, but you have to weigh it very carefully. In this case, it was clearly a big blunder. I thought that we would see knight d4 first, but I think it doesn't matter that much. Like after knight d4, bishop b4, I thought this was more clean. Because after bishop d2, you don't have to take on d2 and give white development. You can play. Well, actually, here, I think you should still take on d2. Because if you play queen d4, then queen a4 is check and you lose the bishop. So you would have to just take anyway.
Like after he caught my queen over here, then like...
Like,
Wait.
where?
Wait, that's in the other game, right?
I,
like...
Where do you mean?
Like move 18.
Queen c2?
Yeah, yeah, when my queen was on c2,
And he did knight b4? Oh yeah, this is what you were talking about. Sorry, I didn't get it before. Yeah,
And then it just goes like downhill.
Yeah, I think what you should do here, actually, after rook a d8, is just give up the pawn. Just say, like, I don't care about the pawn anymore and play for activity. Like, what's the most active move here?
Instead of, knight takes, what do you say? D3, I think just knight takes A2 just worked before. I think it's just faster.
Wait, why?
After queen B2. After rook C2 and queen C2.
After
and
you do knight takes A2?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you get all 3 pawns. You might take, like, A2, D3, and B3 this way.
Well, that would have pinned the rook and then, we would have won that.
Yeah.
I was like pretty confused why he didn't go for like knight takes a2 immediately.
Well, they're all winning. I even thought about knight takes D3 because, like, where do you put your queen after knight D3, right?
Yeah.
This seems very straightforward. This is just, like, a lost position. So the real critical moment was actually, like, on move 8. Or move 7 or something. Yeah, move 8.
Okay.
So this is where the game was decided. So, and at this point, you'd used only like 45 seconds or something. So you have to slow down in positions where you don't really... Like, if you've never played the position before, you should be thinking at least 3 seconds. So, and the reason I say 3 seconds is because the human brain can't even process information in a conscious way faster than 3 seconds. Like, it takes 3 seconds just to process the visual information. So it's good to wait that long before you start making moves, even in blitz.
Yeah.
So I thought there was a real chance here for a big fight in the first 5-minute game. I'm glad to see that Black is doing center fork trick, though, because I taught you guys that so many times, and people almost never listen to me. It's such a good way to...
Yeah, I think D3 is just better, instead of knight C6.
Yeah, absolutely you should play D3 in a position like this. If you want to go completely nuts, you could castle, but I don't think it's that good. I think D3 is just the best. So knight C3, D5, all that. Yeah. I also like that White is playing the best defensive move. Sometimes people sack. Yeah, bishop D3 is definitely the strongest because you keep your bishop pair. You don't want to lose the bishop pair for nothing compared to, like, sacking. Like, you might get an extra move, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, Black has bishop pair, White doesn't have bishop pair. It's not so good. So, anyway, after bishop D6, that's the best defense for Black. So that's good. So far, you guys are playing like a real opening. But D4...
It really got me with like that knight, because I didn't want to lose a piece, but I also didn't want to lose my queen.
You mean on D4 and knight takes D4, or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what you should have done here is probably played, like, D3. You probably thought your bishop's getting trapped or something, right?
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Like,
Not here, though.
You think your bishop gets trapped.
Yeah, I've trapped your bishop like this before. I'm pretty confident. But in order to trap the bishop, you have to play knight e7 first. It takes a bunch of moves before you can play f5 and trap the bishop.
Yeah, I really remember that being like that type of like tactic where you just move your bishop and it checks the queen and then quick. That's like, I played this like really memorable game, and then I kind of lost because I fell for that tactic.
Yeah.
And it kind of was really memorable, so I actually kind of remember that tactic.
Yeah, it's good to use the things that you lose against, right? You shouldn't just, like, cry about it and keep doing things the same way. You have to incorporate these new strategies. So D4 was a little too, like, just coming in hot. It didn't make a lot of sense. This was a critical moment. But it's not too late, actually. After pawn takes D4, bishop C6 should keep White with a very tenable position. You can play any capture on D4 now, right?
Yeah.
You would just take on D4, and bishop H2 doesn't make sense because the knight is still on F3. So this was like the only way to lose a piece with knight takes D4. And if you guys are finding yourselves like you don't know what tactics content to check out, you should be probably grabbing a book. Like,
Wait, didn't you do like the tactics time? At least
Yeah.
we had to do that, didn't we?
Yeah, I did the tactics time as well.
yeah, both the tactics time books, you should solve all of those because they're pretty easy. But if you want something that's like another notch higher. You could do like woodpecker method on Chessable. It costs money, but it's good.
Harder, but it's definitely a good investment.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys get to like 2,000, I can recommend some other books for tactics that are around that level. But yeah, I think it's most important for you to solve tactics books that have patterns in them, not just like random exercises. I've done a lot of experimentation with learning using randomized sets and systematic sets. And I think it's always better when you know what the pattern is for learning. And it's better for testing when they're random. So a good book that has systematic patterns where it's categorized is Forcing Chess Moves by Charles Hertan. I made Coach Louis solve that book. Yeah.
Because tactics time just gives you randomized ones, and tactics time is just, they just show you the things, and they're not in categorized.
Yeah, actually, they're not even all correct.
Oh, really?
Yeah, tactics time, sometimes it'll give like one move and say, oh, this is super easy, awesome.
Oh, yeah,
Here, let me show you one example. Here, I'm switching to a new, I'll like make a study or something, and I'll show you one example from the book, and then we can wrap it up. So, how about this one? Studies for streaming. This is not really important. All right. All right. Are you guys able to see my my board?
No.
No. They can't see the study.
You can't see it yet.
Yeah, just see the position from me almost.
Oh, that's
okay. Now you're just going to the study point.
Yeah.
okay.
The
So
delay is like a lot.
yeah, it's okay. It'll catch up. All right. So I'm just gonna play all the moves that lead to the position from the book.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. White castles, I believe. And then after d6. Yeah, so here's how it starts. Black plays like this, and the answer in the book is that after... Alright, so you reach this position. And in the book it says that the answer is c5, and it just gives it an exclamation point. And they're like, wow, after c5 you are so awesome, because on the very next move you are going to win a piece. Oh wait, hold on. I made a small mistake. The knight is not on f6. It's not there yet. I inserted one extra move for both sides. So they played d6 and then d4 like this. I'm just going to play the moves. It's like not exactly accurate. All right, so they said you play c5 and then it's just a big dance party because after the queen moves you play c4 at the end. But this position is actually kind of complicated. What do you guys think white should actually play here against c5?
Can you go back to the position?
I'm on it. It's just probably catching up. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So black just played c5 and the queen is on d4.
Oh, okay. Then it's just queen d 5.
And what happens if black plays c4?
Oh wait, never mind.
Are you sure?
Actually, no, you take the rook.
Yeah, exactly. So the book just made it seem like chess is super easy. All you have to do is play c5 and you are the champion of the world. But actually after queen d5 it's complicated. But actually black is still winning after queen d5, but you have to play precisely. Like, what's black's best move after...
I actually used this thing against someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were trying to use that trick on me, and I'm like, okay, I'll just take your rook.
So they didn't find it? Oh, that's interesting. So
after queen d5, what is the best again?
The best move is bishop e6.
Okay, yeah.
But then you play queen c6. Yeah. But then bishop d7.
Yeah, I think you still win the piece, but
You do.
there's a bit more of a line.
You do, because you have to get the bishop on d7 so the rook is protected, and then play c4. So the solution in the book is not that accurate. Like, yeah, it's true, it's the first move, but it doesn't help you to understand the position. It's always better to have a book that has accurate descriptions of what the answers are. Anyway, so this was a good match, although it was better for one side than the other side.
Yeah.
So I guess you have some training to do for the time management and also some tactics. Anyway, this was good. I think we will wrap it up here. If you guys want,
And now,
yeah, what's up?
and now I'm
Can I post my YouTube channel link in the live stream chat?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually invited you to earlier, but I think you were probably not listening in during the game. So go for it. I won't end it until you post your link.
It's there.
All right, great. Saga, do you have a YouTube channel or anything?
well, I do, but I don't post videos, so I don't really care.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. So if you guys need any tips about study materials, just hit me up in the Discord. I'll give you some hints. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for playing, guys, and I'll see you next time. Good job.
Alright, bye.
Yep.
Also, bye stream.
Yep. Bye, stream. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody, and hope to see you next time.